is a Beautiful Place by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, presented by Diane Rodriguez and Elizabeth Arriens. Background of Ferlinghetti. Lawrence Ferlinghetti was born in Brocksville, New York on March 24, 1919 and died on February 22, 2021, at the age of 101. His father died before he was born, and his mother was committed to a mental hospital after his birth. Therefore, he was raised by his aunt. He attended the University of North Carolina with a bachelor's degree in journalism. He served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. He earned a master's degree from Columbia University and a doctoral degree from the University of Paris. Considered a cornerstone of the Beat generation, Ferlinghetti founded City Lights Bookshop in San Francisco, California, which is the center for Beat generation artists. Ferlinghetti became California's first poet laureate in 1994 due to his support of the new generation of artists.
The World is a Beautiful Place by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, 1919 to this year. The world is a beautiful place to be born into. If you don't mind happiness not always being so very much fun. If you don't mind a touch of hell now and then, just when everything is fine, because even in heaven, they don't sing all the time. The world is a beautiful place to be born into. If you don't mind some people dying all the time, or maybe only starving some of the time, which isn't half so bad if it isn't you. Oh, the world is a beautiful place to be born into. If you don't much mind a few dead minds in the higher places, or a bomb or two now and then in your upturned faces, or such other improprieties as our name-brand societies prey to, with its men of distinction and its men of extinction and its priests and other patrolmen and its various segregations and congressional investigations and other constipations that our fool flesh is heir to. Yes, the world is the best place of all, for a lot of such things as making the fun scene and making the love scene and making the sad scene and singing low songs of having inspirations and walking around looking at everything and thinking and kissing people and making babies and wearing pants and waving hats and dancing and going swimming in rivers or on picnics in the middle of the summer and just generally living it up. Yes. But then, right in the middle of it, comes the smiling mortician.
Thematic Statement. In the poem The World is a Beautiful Place by Lawrence Ferlinghetti, the poet depicts social awareness by using symbolism, imagery, and figurative language to describe the positive beauties and negative realities of human life, to convey the universal concept for happiness, thus creating challenging concepts during the Vietnam War and Civil Rights Movement of the 1950s and 1960s. Title. The title of The World is a Beautiful Place by Lawrence Ferlinghetti could be about the beautiful places around the world. I predict that the poem will be about the beauty of the world, or it will be sarcastic towards ugly places or events that occur in the world. P. Paraphrase. The poet begins the poem by describing his feelings about the world's beauty, but slowly adds contradictions that exist as he reveals that not every part of the world is lovely. He shows the irony of people who live happy lives while others endure poverty, sadness, and tragedy. He explains that people are moral. C. Connotations. The poet uses symbolism, imagery, figurative language, style, and tone to develop the theme of social awareness. Symbolism. The poet uses symbolism of the bomb, mortician, dead mines, and name brand society to depict war, death, authority figures, and capitalism to repeatedly declare the world's positive beauties with its negative restrictions. Imagery. The poet uses imagery of bombs for destruction, upturned faces for helpless people, beauty or heaven for happiness, and war or hell for sadness to contrast the positive and negatives in the world. Figurative languages. Repetition is used in the quote, "The world is a beautiful place to be born into," and "if you don't mind," to emphasize that beauty exists contrasted with the ugly places and people. Personification is used in the quote, "that our full flesh is here too," because it gives flesh a human quality that inherits. Allusion is used in the quote, "a few dead minds in higher places," to refer to authority figures that do not consider the consequences of their decisions. Diction is used to add sarcasm with a negative connotation by using words like dying and starving. The poet uses conjunctions so, and for to contrast the positives with the negative ideas. The poet uses the paradox between heaven and hell to depict contrast. A. Attitude. The tone of the author towards the subject of the beauty of the world is objective, neutral, or ironic. The author uses ambivalence, showing the world's beautiful as positive and evil as negative. The poet depicts an ironic or sarcastic tone with repeated images of the world as a beautiful place, but contrasting with the tragedies, not always being so very much fun, that take place every day. A cynical tone is shown when the poet states that the world isn't half so bad if it isn't you. The world is not an ideal place, and the world affects people differently. S. Shift. There are tone shifts between the stanzas. The first stanza depicts a positive tone about being happy in a world that is not always a happy environment, and shifts to a less positive tone in the last lines about heaven not being happy all the time. The second stanza depicts a positive tone about the beauty of the world and shifts to a negative tone with the problems of impoverished and hungry people. The third stanza shifts to a negative tone depicting the ugly or dark areas of the world because people are destroying it. The fourth and fifth stanzas shift to a positive tone that provides reasons for people to appreciate the world for the good instead of the evil. At the end, the author creates a tone shift from appreciation to death to inspire hope that people will enjoy life with their dances and picnics. T. Title. The title, "The World is a Beautiful Place," indicates that there is beauty on earth with some suffering. Life's negatives allows us to appreciate life's positives. As death approaches, a person can take comfort knowing that they have a place in this world. T. Theme. The theme of social awareness is used throughout the poem to help the reader to empathize with others less fortunate. Social awareness and suffering were emphasized during the Vietnam War and Civil Rights Movement during the 1950s and 1960s when this poem was written. The hidden meaning or theme of the poem is that negative and positive experiences coexist, and that the temporary negative occurrences still allow enjoyment of the beautiful world. Ferlinghetti wrote this poem to show that beauty still exists with the human horrors and corruption of wars, governments, and religions. He wants the reader to become socially aware of their surroundings.
Written early in 1955 when the poem was released. It was from Rochelle Ratner. He reviewed Ferlinghetti's poems, including The World is a Beautiful Place, and makes the point that the way Ferlinghetti decorates his stanzas adds to the essence of the poem, breaking his poem up into patterns through his display of the unique stanzas serves to drive his meaning further into the reader's mind. J. Milgo says Ferlinghetti's signature phrase, "a Coney Island of the mind," captures all that is brash, cacophonous, and kaleidoscopic about the American sublime. Its glee is typical of the child of immigrants. This review by Andrzej Milnko makes the point that the way Ferlinghetti's words the way Ferlinghetti words certain phrases captures all that is brash, cacophonous, and kaleidoscopic about the American sublime. Simply put, she realizes that the syntax of the poem is used to bring to light some truths that most Americans do not realize about their home country, such as the bomb comment, right? If you don't mind the few bombs in your upturned faces and how other people are starving. So reviewing Coney Island of the Mind contains his poem, "The World is a Beautiful Place." Ferlinghetti have noted that some of his poetry has dated, both in subject matter and in language. While there is a kernel of truth to this, Coney Island of the Mind contains few of these flaws. More damning is the often made claim that his work lacks depth in comparison to other great poets of his time. Again, this holds some weight. However, one of the aspects of Ferlinghetti that makes him such a unique and beloved poet is that in an era when poetry often turns darkly introspective, his looks out upon the world with an eternally hopeful eye. While this may represent a lesser penetration of the human condition, it may also simply be a point of view that sadly becomes so foreign to both today's poetry and our lives that we cannot fully see its worth.